discerning listeners of Snap on This, the Marvel Snap podcast. May I mention you have excellent taste. I am your host, LaurenWhatevs. No, just kidding. It's actually Ree. Lauren is here. We didn't get rid of her. She's just been very ill. So to lighten the load, I mean, not so much that we would edit for her, but we are letting her not drive today. And also, added bonus, she finally gets to be first in Weekend Snap. So, Lauren, please tell us, and keep this snappy, as snappy as you want to. Give us your Weekend Snap.
Yeah, I will definitely keep it snappy because I am not feeling great. We'll see how long this episode can be. May the record show, Ree offered to edit, but I was like, I'll do it as long as I'm not dying tomorrow. So, I don't know. I get to go first, but I don't know what happened in my Weekend Snap. I got another cool clip. I finally did a cool hobgoblin-y ghost spider thing. It's a move that I've loved for a long time. I might have even talked about it before on the pod because I just think it's a cool combo.
Yes, we have heard.
Yeah, Shuri, hobgoblin, ghost spider. I got it on a Valhalla, which is like because then you get the -32 hobgoblin. But if you try doing it with Wong, hobgoblin comes back home, and then you have a different problem. Which, I guess you could do the same trick with Grandmaster instead, and 50-50 that he's going to move hobgoblins of Shuri. Anyway, felt cool to get another clip. And then I was like inspired because I've been pumping out clips, one a week, I guess. And
Ooh.
I was like, okay, time to do something really cool with Bullseye. I did 2 cool things with Moonstone. Time to do something cool with Bullseye. And we'll talk about Bullseye more later, but I could not figure out anything cool to do with him. He is just
I am not surprised. I've warned Ollie, he's just a double hazmat. Like that's where the ceiling is. It's -14 for the 7 cards in your hand. Like that's what he can do.
That was very prescient advice. I think I'm using that word correctly. Yeah, I felt that. Like I heard Ben's words echoing in my mind as my cool combo plays just weren't cool. Even when they like popped off and did the thing I meant for them to do, they just weren't exciting.
Sorry.
And I was like, yeah, it's just a double hazmat.
I want a reality show following you, clip hunters. This week, Lauren struggles. She wants a cool Bullseye clip, but can she pull it off? I've got the shaky cam. You're like, I don't know. Red strings. Usually the conspiracy red strings show up.
I mean, you should see some of my papers when I'm planning out the combos. How realistic can this be? I did find a shell. I was inspired by Buddy with Anti-Venom. I found a shell that can get your cost of all your cards down to 1 by turn 7 reliably. Reliably enough for a clip hunter. With the addition of Anti-Venom, I can get Sarah, Onslaught, and Mystique all up, and Limbo. I can get them all up in time for turn 7. And I'm like, there's something cool here. I don't know what it is, and I don't want to use it every single time, but there's some cool clip you can do if your entire hand costs 1. So anyway, yeah, that was my week. Besides, the U.S. outage and
yeah,
traveling to Canada to play the game. Yeah, it was a week. We'll talk about that more later too. That should probably pass, or it's just gonna be me blabbering.
Okay, I won't lie though. When you were like, unless I'm dead, I will edit, and I was immediately like, okay, I think we have a res spell. Don't worry, no one will have to edit. We can res Lord. Okay. So now we will toss it to our other co-host, Benjamin Roller. How was your Weekend Snap? And keep it snappy.
Oh, well, keeping it snappy, as I always endeavor to do. It was a fine Weekend Snap. It was a bit, there was an interruption in the middle of it. But for about 48 hours there, I couldn't play Marvel Snap because I don't have a passport, and I could not get into Canada if I wanted. Anywho, yeah, so it's harder to play the game when it's like quite literally unplayable. But when I was playing Marvel Snap, I generally had a pretty good time. I had like, you know, the SP's been yo-yoing, but we're still in a pretty good spot for #pod goals. Currently, the yo-yo is almost back up to its highest height. So that's cool. I've been playing some decks. New ones? Sure, yes, actually. There is a notable new addition.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I had to build one with Bullseye. It's all right. It's just the same discard deck I've been playing. The card I took out for Bullseye currently is Blade. There are 3 bottom performers in my discard deck, and they are Blade, Gambit, and Proxima Midnight. So I'm actually going to try Bullseye in 2 of the other spots there. I know, like, these seem like great cards, right? Gambit and Proxima Midnight, like, how could they be the weakest performers? It's just that every other card is just so friggin' good. Like, Lady Sif, very, very strong card. If you draw Lady Sif, you are likely to get more cubes than if you didn't draw Lady Sif, I tell you what. Anywho.
She's so good at her job.
Yeah,
like when you look at the discard like layout and you're like, okay, Moon Knight, especially old Moon Knight, you know, like doesn't listen to you, does what he wants. Corvus Glaive, always going to discard what you don't want. But Lady Sif, she just shows up and does her job every single time. I think the other discard cards could learn a little from her, is all I'm saying.
I completely agree.
I think she's under-respected for her reliability.
So I've also been like thinking about how I can fit Bullseye into perhaps a 100 bad guys with swords style list. Maybe with Surfer, maybe without Surfer. Not sure yet. Haven't really had time to test that one. I've got like a rough draft, but I'm not even going to talk about it because it is so unfinished. Anywho, the deck I was excited to talk about, I will finally get to now. I'm calling it Wave Flourish 25A. Because sometimes you got to name your decks boring things just to keep track of them. Maybe more on that later.
Classic.
Who knows? But this one, it's the Wave Flourish Surfer deck that I'm so fond of playing. But I've made some substitutions to get modern with the times. Just this once, I'm trying it without Absorbing Man. This is a tentative change. I'm not sure. I kind of feel like it should still have Absorbing Man. There is one thing about this deck that is just wrong. It's got Hope Summers in it, and I can tell that this deck is moving away from the Hope Summers direction, so I'm going to have to figure out what to do there. Is this going to be a Sarah deck? Is this going to be a deck without any sort of acceleration of any kind? I don't know. But let me tell you what's in it so far. It's got America Chavez, Forge, Spider-Man, Brood, Silver Surfer, Red Guardian, Rocket Raccoon and Groot, Hope Summers, Sebastian Shaw, Copycat, Galacta, and Gwenpool. So we've got 2 4 costs, and neither of them is Absorbing Man. It's the other 2. I think of them as being sort of the same card because they sort of are. These nice 4/12s, kind of like Ares. Anywho. Yeah. I'm really loving new Spider-Man. I love a card. Very cool, very cool. Loved old Spider-Man, love new Spider-Man. All the Spider-Mans are good except for original Spider-Man with the location denial. That was just
shut your whore mouth.
Yeah.
He abs-man the character Spider-Man abs-man.
Yeah.
When he was a lockdown friend.
Yeah, no, I played it. I did it. It was fun. Those were the cards I had. They felt right in the circumstances, but do I think they're great for the game? No. Anywho, so that's a Surfer deck that's been working pretty well for me. The SP are big net positive on that one. So even though it does have a Hope Summers that maybe doesn't belong, feel free to crib this one from the show notes and play it yourself. You will probably win some games. I make cool Surfer decks, I tell you. Anyway,
a ringing endorsement. You will probably win some games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been my weekend snap. There was, there were only 5 days of it, so I'm amazed I had that much to say.
This short. Okay. Then now it is time for me, your temporary grand co-host. I'm trying to think of like a more epic title to give myself while I'm temporarily in charge. My weekend snap. This was actually like kind of a healing week for me in Snap because like the week before I hadn't even gotten my personal like bounty rewards, which is rare for me. I'd barely gotten to play. As I mentioned, and this week I played a bunch of different decks, more back to normal. I started with what's like kind of a deck building comfort for me, which is Surfer. It was the first meta decks that I got into when we all come out. I mean, I don't know about we all, but for me in my journey, I started just as a solo. I don't know that I was ever casual because I was immediately pretty obsessed, but, I wasn't looking up stuff externally to the game. And, you kind of build your deck and adding cards because you can't fully lean into a genre. And a lot of us, I had like an Ironheart Odin deck was what I was kind of coming out of Series 2 with. And Surfer was the first, meta, like deck that I started playing and then building my own of. And so it's always like kind of a comfort because there's a lot of cards that I love are 3 costs. It's a nice little template because you mostly want 3 cost cards. You know what I mean? You can see what you can throw in. So I put together and part of it too is I wanted to play with Mr. Fantastic a bit with Agent Venom. Because I thought about Ravonna, but I was like, I don't want to end up with a negative deck, minus negative. So it's Agent Venom based, and it's got cards I love like Angela and Thena. And I had never thought before about what a great card Thena it can be in Surfer. Because like my style of Surfer is different than Ben's normally. Because normally I like to just load up on tech that covers a wide variety of things. And then Surfer helps give me that little like boost of power to take it over the line. And remember back in early Surfer days, it was you would always play Sarah in Surfer. It was like never, ever. And I remember like our treasured friend Equinox, I believe it was first like came out and it was like a punk rock statement almost like, no. And she was this like so confident and young, where she's just like, it is incorrect. Play Legion, I believe it was instead. And it was amazing. And we all loved it. And that was like the break of where like, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt so brutally. I think it was Spider-Man, old lockdown Spider-Man.
That might have been the first one. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it was Legion later. But yeah, it was definitely like she'd done all this math and like Sarah's not worth the trade-off. And yeah, it was great. I remember that.
Okay, there's math behind it. I would have been confident with feelings.
Oh, yeah, no. But well, because she was talking about it must have been when, maybe it was new Spider-Man actually, because it was a 3/5 at the time. But it was like, yeah, just how much more value you get instead of playing Sarah. Just play your extra 3 cost on turn 5. Like that's the same amount, and you can get power, which Sarah doesn't really have.
Old Spider-Man. Yeah, was the first one. And then later it was like, okay, well, Legion can go here instead. And that kind of broke it off. And now it's just like, if you're thinking, instead of always having the goal of playing three powers on turn 6, now like a lot of times you're fine to just play 2, which, makes it great with Thena. So you throw in there like an Angela and a Kitty. Because like in Surfer, so many times you do have just that little bit of extra energy to just squeeze in a little Kitty Pride and hit it off. And this works so well for the kind of Surfer decks I build, which are more about the tech side, right? So building power over time works better for me than the big like power payoffs that I would expect out of a Ben deck for Surfer. So that's where I started, and that's really fun, right? Like Cassandra Nova, I have the Ironheart variant, I love Sage. Mr. Fantastic gave me the reach, where I would normally be throwing in someone that can move. Really, I know. I wanted to put Nocturne in this. but I couldn't figure out who to cut. So I started playing this, and that was like so much fun, and just playing my own deck again that I just put together, and some old cards. And this was a late infinite for me. Usually I go ahead and grind it out the first weekend or whatever. But I hadn't played that much, and Hot Location happened. It was Onslaught Citadel. And Hot Location normally means I'm off to Conquest for my missions, because I just do want to do that. Yeah. But this time, I put on I was like, well, and I slipped into archery mode, which is the mode that I save for board games about space empires, so that I might win without kindness if I have to. Anyway, and I was like, how can I take advantage of this situation? And felt like a time for Doom 2099. I apologize, but it's like Onslaught Citadel, because you know what I played? You know what I played Doom 2099 with? Let me pull up. I called the deck Impending Doom. And because one, it's got Galacta, because it's just, she's great with everything. But like the deck had both Legion and Storm in it, because it was a War Machine version. So I could either replicate Onslaught Citadel everywhere if it was going to beef up all my little Doom bots, or I could get rid of it. Yes, and because there was like so much negative out there for me on the ladder, so and like other stuff, people were playing Magic. Everyone was playing Magic. So like it was just like I just wanted so many, like just killing so many like limbos with the Storm, with a Legion. It was like I really feel like I climbed to infinite by like killing a bunch of like innocent Magic users, like hopes and dreams of a better future. And I wouldn't be disgusted with myself, but honestly, it was so fun. Like, I even got to pull off the old like Storm Legion, want to try. It's much harder now. It's much harder to pull off. I only did it a couple times, whereas before it was more reliable. But
it is. But I've seen quite a few. When I see people doing it, they're playing Doom 2099.
Yes, and like Iron Lad is in this deck, so when he hits like a Doom or or a War Machine, just so many good options. Anyway, so that was fun. I honestly think it was best, like I said, for climbing Onslaught Citadel, because really it was killing limbos. It was messing either tanking Onslaught Citadel or making it everywhere. It felt very. I did feel like winning like a Twilight Imperium or something. I'm just like conquering all of space. So yeah, that's how I got to Infinite this season. And that was, most of my week in Snap. Also, yes, except for the blip that US users had. And even though Lauren is sick, she very kindly volunteered to head up this section.
I threw this together because I think there's some interesting things to talk about, and it doesn't have to be long. US lost Snap for almost 48 hours, went down with the ByteDance TikTok shenanigans. Some people might call it propaganda. I might call it propaganda. The whole taking it down and then bringing it back up. I think we're being too quick to say
taking it down early voluntarily to apply pressure. Yeah.
And then like the message that's in the TikTok app that's like, oh, and thanks so much to a certain man for giving us the clarity to.
I did not leave the whole situation thinking much more highly of ByteDance or anybody.
No. And whereas TikTok came back up quite quickly, Marvel Snap did not. And also, it's not fully back up yet, which this is still true of TikTok also. All the ByteDance apps are still down in the App Store and Google Play. So, if you were a player who uninstalled when it went down, you can't reinstall it right now. I don't know if it's on Steam or not, but it's off of the mobile app stores, which also means that mobile like in-app purchases are down because it's not in the App Store. But you can use the web shop if you really want to go buy some, Marvel Snap bundles or something like that. You could keep playing the game with the VPN. There were several missives from Second Dinner employees who said that would be fine, including Ben Brode himself. We got him to post for the first, when it was back up, he posted for the first time in the official Discord in like over a year. So, it was like, bringing out the big guns to have Ben Brode come and say something. And his message was repeated in the app. I think that they need to do that more. I think there's a lot of communication that only ends up in like Twitter and Discord and also needs to be, for the casual
more
player.
Of it should happen when you open the app.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I did play with a VPN. You only needed a VPN. This is not helpful anymore. You only needed a VPN to get into the app. Once you were in, you could just turn it right off and keep playing the game.
Also, I've checked. Marvel Snap is still available for download on Steam.
Okay.
Yeah, for PC.
Good for a thorough answer. And so they've said compensation's coming, which is good. I've seen a lot of people be like really uppity about it and like, when's compensation coming and stuff. It's like, guys, chill. Like,
it'll be
they just scrambled over a holiday weekend to get the game back up when they weren't even expecting it to go down.
Don't excuse them. They trained us. They study how to put us on little treadmills, little dopamine treadmills of winning resources, and it's their own fault when we're just like, the Wire meme of like, I got some more Snap resources. They did that to us.
I mean,
so anyway,
that's very true. I'm not saying they've never done anything wrong that this may be highlighted, but yeah.
They also have been pretty consistent with compensation. The most
I'm
notable,
sure we'll get ours.
Yeah, the most notable bad compensation was with the Gambit bundle where they changed out the variant. But then when people hated the first round of compensation, they eventually made good on it. They gave out 8,000 gold, which was the cost of the bundle. And people still got to keep all the resources from it. Like, it was thorough compensation. And I'm very intrigued at what the compensation for this is going to look like. I don't necessarily have strong opinions about it. I'm just interested to see what it is. Because, like, what about players who were holding off to get Moonstone? Was it Moonstone last week? Yeah. What about players who were holding off to get Moonstone until we knew more about her, and then the game wasn't available?
Yeah.
Like, do you just give Moonstone to everybody?
No, they won't do that. I don't think there'll be any specific compensation for that.
I spent resources on Moonstone, but for the record, I am totally fine with people getting cards for free that I dedicated resources to get. I think more people should have more cards, and that keeping score and being bitter does not serve anyone. One thing that I was worried about that I was not expecting to get compensation for, but like, man, I was going to be so disappointed if there were another bank error in your favor Token Tuesday and I was not going to be able to get that. It didn't come to pass. Yeah. We just had a regular strong Token Tuesday. But if I had missed out on 1,200 tokens for 700 gold Token Tuesday, I would have been very frustrated and personally disappointed. Right. That's a great example of the sort of like small thing that's like, how do you address this with compensation? Like a Token Tuesday that wasn't available, or alliance rewards. And that's not just US alliances. That's any alliance that has US players had fewer people contributing to the score. There were login rewards right now. And people missed an entire day or two of that? Like, what if the favorite variant you've been looking for showed up in the shop? I mean, that's a lot. I don't know how you address that in a fair way, but just like there's a lot that you miss out on a game that, like you were saying, where they've like trained us and there's like, all these like buttons to push and levers to keep up with, flashing lights and red notification dots. And then it's like all of those things, when you miss a day, you miss all of those. Another thing I should mention, next week, we've got a normal week Token Tuesday. Don't buy it. Okay. Oh, Token, yeah. I couldn't even. I impulse bought the Nimrod gold bundle.
Nimrod was a better
good
deal.
Bundle. The
variant is very
better deal than a strong Token Tuesday. You save like 250 gold for the.
Okay, good. I didn't think it was a wise decision.
Strong Token Tuesdays of value, but it costs
and a good variant.
Yeah, that's completely ignoring the variant.
I was playing this insane Nimrod deck that had Odin in it. Because I was doing auto Nimrod, I think, so I wanted to play my thing. But I realized it was like you were using the Odin on I was using it on like a Venom or a Carnage just to eat more Nimrods.
Grandmaster in a Nimrod deck is kind of cool.
Also, why wasn't
is it kind of cool, or
instead
does
of
it
Odin?
perhaps take it over the line into positively uncontrollable? I don't know.
It must replicate and be everywhere. That's the whole point of Nimrod. More Nimrods.
It's cool
everywhere.
to be able to reuse destroy cards that are already on the board. That's cool. Odin seems like an expensive way to do it, but I don't know. You
know what's sad though is you used to do a Shuri Nimrod, and now that's like a waste of time. You gotta symbiote Spider-Man and Nimrod. That's how you gotta do it, right? And it makes me sad for Shuri. It's like,
it doesn't make that. It's a 1 power difference, isn't it? Shuri versus
symbiote Spider-Man also works with like Galactus and other things you're doing in Nimrod decks. I
guess. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it doesn't have.
A Shuri that doesn't get to double a thing is not good, but a symbiote Spider-Man that you just played for whatever reason is still a 4/7.
Good points.
Yeah. And you can put him, it's like you don't hate getting him on a Carnage, or he just totally takes Shuri out of Destroy. Like there's no reason for her to be there anymore. Anyway, all right. I just noticed when new cards replace old cards.
Nimrod Nook. That was
all right. Sorry. Yes. Do we have anything else to say?
No. Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm intrigued by what the compensation will be. I think they're going to shoot high because there's a lot of like goodwill and trust here. Our game went down and we didn't know how long it was going to be down. And, there's certainly fears that that could happen again at any time. On that note, they've said they're going to be looking for a new publisher. And I think that means that this could end up being a huge net positive in the long run. Moving Snap away from Newverse and getting to a new publisher could be huge. Because there's a lot that Newverse controls that I don't think people realize. And some of it is creator program, Conquerors tournaments, the web shop, things that are a little distanced from Snap, but they certainly have a lot of influence over Snap. And I think it would be really good for the developers, Second Dinner, to have more control over their game, which it sounds like is part of their process for finding a new publisher, not just finding a new partner, but also moving more things in-house into Second Dinner itself.
Yeah.
Shrinking the role of publisher, and I think that will be great.
I hope it's not too little, too late. And also, I am curious to know just exactly how many, because I confess I think along these lines myself that those poor Second Dinner, those scrappy developers, they're trying their best. It's Big Daddy Newverse ruining everything. And you know what? I'm sure it's not that simple, and I am curious to know where the lines are drawn of what's been whose fault all along. I'm sure we'll find out. I'm sure it's not all one party that's been
who worked in software there. I am so much less interested in who is to blame than in how we fix it.
Oh no, for real. I'm just wondering are we going to get fixes? I don't know. I don't hold anything against the Second Dinner people when stuff I'm sure by and large everybody's just doing their best. That's my line of thought. I wonder if this really is going to be the magical wand wave that fixes everything, or if we're going to find out that we still live in the real world and everything is messy.
Yeah, I think actually even more telling than the new publisher in that relationship, how things change, I think the economy rework will be even more telling about what the future of Snap's greed is. That was in air quotes for the people listening.
A roadmap soon. I thought I maybe saw a team answer something aren't we owed one of those in a while? And they're
yeah, they usually do those quarterly, and we should be expecting an even bigger series drop soon. And there's a lot coming. And yeah, I'm hopeful that that'll give us some insight on the direction that it's going. Before I pass it back to Ree to drive, I remembered one very important part of my weekend snap. The variant that I've been looking for over a year.
Ooh.
Baby Valkyrie, who's never shown up in my shop over the course of an entire year. That she never showed up. And I wanted to be Valk complete because she's nominally my favorite card.
Valk complete.
I got her for the Alliance rewards this week. It was a very exciting moment. I don't think I'm ever going to use it, but I'm Valk complete, and I have 9 unsplit Valkyries ready for character mastery. Anyway, that was a highlight of my week. Okay,
congratulations!
You can have the wheel back,
completeness in your life. Okay. No, I mean, just now we're just gonna move on. It's just what we normally do. We're just gonna talk about the new card this week, which is Bullseye, who is both 3 cost and 3 power with the ability Activate. Discard all cards that cost 1 or less from your hand. Afflict that many different enemy cards with -2 power. Whereas Ben likes to say, at best 2 hazmats. I believe you both got them, as has already been mentioned. Give us your early thoughts. Let's start with Lauren first again.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's just unusual. I got them with 2 keys because I'm out of tokens. It feels a lot better to hit a duplicate when there's 2,000 tokens involved. 2,000 tokens is still worth slightly less than a key, but, quite a bit more than 1,000 tokens. I have been severely disappointed by Bullseye, but don't get me wrong. I still think I think he's a very good card. He's just very narrow. He basically needs to have Meek, Morbius, maybe Collector. Like, he needs to have those scalers because it's really the discard that is his strength, not the double hazmat thing. Like, that's icing on the cake, but it is not where his greatest strength comes from.
It's because the discard part needs so much support, you don't have enough room to also include an affliction package, it feels like to me, right? Like,
I think that's part of it, and also that there's just not that many good targets, right? Like, the best way you can fill your hand with stuff is like swarms, and so then you need a discard support package, like you were saying. Yeah, some of these things are just going to be shoo-ins, right? Like Morbius makes it so that every discard is a 4-point swing instead of a 2-point swing. Like, that's why you got to do that. I tried a Drac dump deck and it was okay, but really, like, Black Swan did way more work than Bullseye ever did. He's just a backup plan. Like, it's not. I really think he's basic. And like I said at the start during my weekend snap, I tried so many cute things with Bullseye, and it just, none of it's very exciting. I think maybe if you somehow managed to get like 5 Bullseyes on the board and then discarded a handful of swarms over and over again, that could be kind of cool.
Yes, I'm sure that would be cool and probably win a game in which it happened. But like, it's never going to happen.
I struggled so much
regularity
to make anything cool happen. And even even when I did do something, like when I achieved the plan, it just wasn't flashy. I was like, this is not cool enough to be a clip. So in that way, he's disappointing to me because I was very excited for the shenanigans.
Okay. Spoilers also kind of me, but I'm saving my thoughts to hear if Ben did you have a better week with Bullseye?
I have to say, when I was playing Bullseye in the Blade spot in Cool Doug's Guard, things worked okay. I played like a couple rounds with a deck where there was also Dokken involved. That's a different list, but like, I feel like this is good for Dokken, and I like things that are good for Dokken. Yeah. Also,
I forgot
if
to
you
mention
know
him.
What's going on in the season pass Dokken variant is so he's broken out of the little containment chamber behind him, and he's tapping on the glass of the containment chamber in front of him. What's going on there? Anywho, if you can make that make sense.
Not noticed that.
right on in. I'm pretty sure it maybe I suspect it might have something to do with AI in the Pandart variants for this season pass. Take a look at Sentry's hand. Tell me that's not the stuff of nightmares.
Oh, no.
Also, take a look at the new Doctor Strange variant's hand. It's also the stuff of nightmares. These are just some things I've noticed.
Oh, no.
Anyway. But the card Bullseye, lots of fun. Very cool. I love activating to discard some swarms and sequencing it up with MODOK to discard more swarms. And like, he's very neat, very cool. I will say you can still build awesome discard decks without Bullseye. So he's not even mandatory for a discard dabbler. If this card is not calling out to you, do not get it. And I mean, I think it'll be good eventually, if not already. And Safety Blade, for instance, thinks it's good already, and I think it's fine. I don't think he's like wrong. I think sometimes he gets excited about cards more for being interesting and being within the realm of viability than like necessary. Yeah, exactly. The same reason we get excited about cards. So I'm just saying, like, yeah, if you're like, well, Safety Blade likes this card, so surely it's competitively like it's gonna do gangbusters, right? Not so sure on this one. I think he just likes it. That's my reading. That's me reading between the lines. I don't know. You can ask him if you want his opinion. But yeah, I like Bullseye. I'm having fun with Bullseye. I will continue to have fun with Bullseye, probably putting him away until the weekend. But once the weekend comes, I'll build some new versions of the decks I was talking about and see what happens.
I feel like the issue with the discard is that, like, you just can't have too much crazy fun with it because, like, it's fun now to start people experimenting with, like, Moonstone comboing with Morbius, you know, and Victoria Hand with the swarms. But the more non-discard cards you put in the deck, like having these visions of these combos, it's like the harder it gets, you know, when that falls apart. It's like you can only go a couple cards outside of a bunch of discard. And so you can have little flavors of other things, but it's just like, you know, you gotta mostly be discard. And I was trying Bullseye, and like, I think honestly, and like occasionally I'm like, why is this so unexciting for me? Because occasionally you do get a thing which is like swarms everywhere, 1 million swarms, and you've Victoria handed them and stuff. And I honestly think, I wonder if it's like when you do set up a really cool play with Bullseye, it fast forwards all of it and you don't see it. It's just not exciting for me to play.
Like MODOK,
you know what I mean?
This one gets the fast forward treatment, and like it you lose out on information and stuff, and it's just a little frustrating.
Right,
why doesn't the fast forward ever like happen for good?
Yeah, it feels like it's like it's a combo card you want to set up where you want to have some shenanigans you watch pop off because it's not always going to happen, you know? And then like when you get there, it's like you want to see the Black Panther like doubling up and going everywhere and stuff, you know? You want to see this stuff. And it's like, yeah, you don't want like, you want the boring long stuff to be fast, like watching a Bar Sinister pop off on some cards. But like, yeah, it's just like, it's like, oh, it happened and it's done now. And like, I'm gonna watch it. And I guess some cards got afflicted, but cards got afflicted. All right, yeah, we got a bunch of swarms. I honestly think so. Like, where you said safety, you think maybe is like more into it because of seeing potential combos that make it new and interesting angles of Snap to look at. For me, it's kind of less fun because it's like, oh, but when I did it, it wasn't satisfying though. Where's my payoff? You know, where's the moment where I go, yeah, watch it. You know, I don't get to have that. It's just like fast forward, it's done, it's over.
Exciting Timmy things to happen. Is that
is part of the fun of the game, right?
Of how you're feeling about Bullseye.
Yeah.
They need to like time the fast forward differently, right? Like, okay, yeah, sure. Fast forward, dumping my entire hand of swarms one by one and having them be replaced with 2 swarms. Like, fast forward that. But let me see Bullseye throw the cards.
Yeah, or at least tell me how many times the swarm thing happened. You know, like I don't know. There's got to be some way to like make it happen quickly while still giving you the information. I don't know.
Yeah, make the fast forward instead of like being a skip, be like it plays twice as fast.
Yeah, make it actually a fast forward.
Yeah,
it honestly
that would
doesn't
still be
feel
excruciating
very
for
thematic.
some combos, like your Wong Mystique, and then into Odin, and then it's doing like, or even if Scroll's involved, and all of a sudden it's doing like 64 procs. That is a good thing to fast forward because it's excruciating to sit through. Especially if the thing that's happening is Surfer buffing Sebastian Shaw. My goodness, that is a slow animation.
Yeah, that is a slow animation. They need to do something about that. As a person who buffs a lot of Sebastian Shaws, doesn't need to take that long.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. And it feels like it's just like having one animation to cover. It's like what really should happen is each character needs their own little shorthand animation that feels good and is cool for fast forwarding all that stuff. And then just reusing assets. But okay. Do we have other Bullseye thoughts before we move on to
Yeah, I wanted, when I was discussing this with Safety Blade, it brought to mind something that happens when I'm ranking cards for each season too. And it's just like, how much does the narrowness of a card impact how good it is? Because I think Bullseye is a good card. He's an upgrade to some decks, but he's an upgrade to like 2, maybe 3 decks. And that's it. Like he's super narrow, good at his job, but not a flexible card. And so like, in a world where card acquisition is so expensive, it's hard to recommend him. I think he's an easy skip, even though he's a good card.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, are we evaluating this, like, I don't know. Are we trying to recommend the most winningest cards to the people who can, like, I don't know. I think our audience is mostly people who are, I think mostly we are talking to people who are interested in learning to fish and not receiving a fish. And like, if you're on the journey of learning to fish, you hear what we're saying about Bullseye, and it's an interesting card. And if you have interesting ideas of what to do with it, you should get it. If it looks like something you're going to do something with, like this is a card that is good at its job. And so that means it's good in my, I don't know.
I agree. It's just that its job is so narrow. And so it's like, I really don't think there's a lot of room to be creative with Bullseye. I don't think there's a lot of room to do interesting things.
Knows, like they get it. Like when we say that a card is good at its job, like they know what we mean. Like Bullseye's a good card. That's what I want to say with my advice. He is a good card, but unless you're swimming in resources, or if you really love these discard decks that he upgrades, I think you skip him.
I just want to add that I make no assumptions about our audience, except that they are the classiest of Snap players, of course.
Very attractive.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying.
Well-versed in Animorphs.
Okay, yes. So I also am just like not like I'll play Bullseye for weekend missions. That's how I feel about it. Nah. All right. And next week, another card that when I think of it is not fondly. Aries, sorry if you're into this card. Aries is going to be a 4 energy card with 6 power with the ability on reveal. Compare the power of the top 3 cards of both decks. If your total is higher, plus 6 power. Which feels like mostly a Surtur card to me. What do you all think? I'm skipping, to be honest. Just to save the resources.
Same.
Yeah.
I will be skipping.
I've got enough resources that I feel bad about skipping. I'm like, this is the part where I should just be getting every card, coasting and I would just get every card and stuff. But like the thing is, I just hate this card so much. He just seems so boring.
You can skip it on principle.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like there will come a time when I run out of resources, and I will be glad that I skipped. And yeah,
that's the boat I'm in. I have quite a lot right now. I've had some luck. I've skipped strategically. I've drained my token balance, so I have quite a lot of keys right now. It's around 30. Like, I can't believe how high I got, but it will run out eventually. And no, Aries,
also,
and then in March, Starbrand. They're starter cards, and it's like there's not another big cards deck that's interesting right now.
About that, also another point against Aries. Speaking of Starbrand, Aries is not a Starbrand card. Like, look down the road like half a mile. Like, don't like what's cool about this card? It doesn't even work with the next Scar card. Like, Aries is like sometimes he's just going to be the thing, not the evolved thing. Sometimes he's just going to be the thing. He doesn't boost your Starbrand. Like, what is cool about this card? This should be like the least purchased card since Bruce Banner. That's my feeling.
Well, I mean, for people, like, some people are really into starter decks. I do think the other thing that I think Lauren mentioned that I thought was interesting is, like, seeing him in a mill deck, played late. And I think that's interesting because they did put him with Misery as one of the spotlight friends. And honestly, that's the home I've really kind of seen Misery in most, is in mill decks. Usually kind of comboed with, so like Cable and Quinjet. Have you been seeing that deck running around a lot? I have, where it's like kind of a mix, a slight mix of mill and like random gen.
Yeah, I think like Mill has a decent amount of power, but it's hard to fully mill somebody, and so that's why I think Aries is kind of cool in a mill deck. He's a reward for mostly milling somebody.
That's because there is so much card gen now, right? So, like, when I was running into this with my discard, it's like, well, I don't need to play those cards. Same thing with, like, when people are Cassandra Noving, the crap out of my deck. It's like, I'll play what I got in hand, and what I spit back to it. So, yeah, I agree. Mill is really annoying for some reason for me to play, but not because it beats me a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a pain, but it's not very strong, which is probably the right place for Mill to be. Is like kind of fun to play if you want to be a sandcastle kicker, but never like a top deck.
The meta.
We'll throw out there. Maybe we've talked about it before. Aries is an awesome card thematically. God of War, and he's playing war. Like, that's very cool. That's it.
Fine.
It fits. I'm more familiar with the like DC Aries.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Do you guys? So moving on then to the card. Do you guys have other thoughts about Misery beyond her place in Mill?
Oh, the Spotlight Friends.
Yeah.
It's Misery and who else?
Misery and Miss Marvel.
I'm surprised how out of the meta Ms. Marvel is. She's still a 414, and you never see her.
Well, she's just really easy to screw up.
I guess, I guess the restrictions are just too restrictive.
Right? Clog is out there a lot. And also, you're just filling up a lot more of your board. You're often not, and it's dangerous. Like I said, I've been playing that Nimrod deck, and it's just like, it's not the kind of deck I normally play because it's just leaving a little card out there alone, vulnerable to a red guardian, like, it's scary out there. You gotta bring friends.
Yeah. I was really hoping last week's OTA would bring her down to 3 so that she could maybe see a little more.
It'd be a cool Moonstone card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I loved your ideas. It was her, Khazar, and I feel like there was one
possibly
other
Omega Red. Those were the 3 candidates. I was like, one of these is moving to 3, right? But no.
I loved that idea.
I mean, one of them will eventually. That's just the nature of the game.
Misery is my Splitsmith card. She's my second most split card in the game. After I split my Valkyries that are sitting at infinity. Just because I got a dumb idea that I really needed White Crackle Misery. I think she's a super fun card, but I don't know how good she is outside of obnoxious stuff.
I've been sitting here thinking about it though. I've been trying to play Darkhawk again, and
she's good there.
Darkhawk is not like as good as the old Agent Venom. Oh, Widow's days. Oh, man. Oh, that was so fun before everyone found it. And then, and now I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, Misery should go in there because I have Grandmaster, but it's like, it's just a lot harder now without the Widows. Because, like, I tried it with Black Widow, and she's just not worth it. Because
she's
it's a werewolf.
inactivate.
Because it's a werewolf, Darkhawk.
Oh, yeah, you can't play her anymore
That's
there.
how I have fun with Darkhawk, is bouncing around a werewolf with on reveals where you're pinging rocks at them. Just wolves and rocks.
But I mean, Misery on top of Korg and Rockslide, like,
right?
That's a decent extra burst of power.
Yeah, you hate to lose the 5 power from Rockslide, though. Anyway, so yeah, that's the trade-off.
I think Misery's a good card. I realized I had not weighed in defense of Misery, but yeah, Misery is a good card. You should probably have Misery if you're into doing stuff and trying things.
She's
a fun card.
You know, until like a lot of times I see, I'm like, I didn't think about it.
And I mean, like, just the effect is like very strong. This is a card that's not going to get any worse. It's only going to get better.
That's true. She just needs to have good targets, right? And that's
I'd
limited,
say she already does have good targets. Like,
yeah, I meant like in a deck, she needs to have good targets to hit, which I guess is a nothing statement because you could say that about any card. But yeah, I mean, something like an Ironheart, for example.
But yeah, exactly. Do the Ironheart test that like I do whenever I'm evaluating like any card. Like, what does it do with Ironheart? And in Misery's case, everything. All of it.
Yeah.
Also, if you can afford armor in your deck, then Misery is just Odin. That's cheaper.
Although, can you afford armor in your deck? Really think about that, folks.
I am. Everything I'm like, does this go in the Darkhawk deck? Is this a Darkhawk? Butterfly meme? Okay.
Speaking of that, I found a way to make Spider-Man a surfer card still. I mean, like,
of course you did.
In that surfer list, I forgot to highlight it. I'm like, yep, and I'm playing Spider-Man here. That was a surfer deck that didn't even have Spider-Man in it when he was 3. That was a different surfer deck, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Well, how have you made him a surfer card? Or are you just saying you shoved him in there?
The surfer deck? I mean, you know, Jeff used to be in that spot, but Spider-Man's the new Jeff. Spider-Man's the new White Widow. He's just he's the best of the best of the best.
Because now he beats Mr. Fantastic and Jeff, you know? Is that like... Mr. Fantastic with the +3 is fun, though. When you get a 3/3.
Yeah, I really like new Mr. Fantastic.
It's been fun.
I still haven't played him, but, you know, so I'm rooting for him. Absolutely.
And then, like, Miss Marvel is honestly just struggling in a world that has Galacta and Doom 2099 as 4 drops, right? Like, it's a harder quest to pull off.
I'd like to see them dial back rather than buffing how much power she has. I'd like to see them dial back how, you know, restrictive her ability is.
Now, on to the side quests, of which this week we just have the one, Secret Homework. And this week's Secret Homework was assigned by Lauren. So kick us off, Lauren. Tell us what quality of life change you would most like to see in Snap.
That was the Secret Homework. Real quick, I just want to nod to, I saw one listener do the Secret Homework already. It was Adam Starr, who wants to have like thematic boards. And I think that's a great idea. And also boards with little toys on them, things you can tap on and make happen, which
like Hearthstone.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing, especially to deal with, you know, a roper or whatever. You know, I spent a decent amount of time twirling.
Maybe I'll stop missing Spider-Ham hits.
Yeah, and I spent a decent amount of time twirling my phone because then, you know, when you have the gyro on, the little cards like spin. Although that's been like hit or miss lately. Anyway, my quality of life change. Sorry if I too briefly represented yours, Adam. My quality of life wishes are for the collection screen. I think that the search is bad and has only gotten worse. It used to be that if you searched for no ability, it would come up with cards like Demon. The Hood and Dr. Doom and White Tiger, who have, you know, Patriot cards attached to them, but they aren't a Patriot card themselves. That doesn't happen anymore. You know what card doesn't show up if you're filtering for destroy or discard? Dawkin. That's dumb. So,
first
of all, bring back that it looks at the token text. Like, that's just a simple thing.
Right.
I also want it to let me put in multiple search terms, and because I think you can only have one active at a time right now, and I want to be able to have multiple search terms and have it do like an and, like this and this. I want all my pixels that are on reveals. I don't know why I would want that, but just as an example. So you can search for like variant names and variant names and artists now. I want to also be able to search for finish and flare. I want to be able to filter based on upgrade level. I want to find I'm trying to get my entire collection to either infinity or green, because that's just the most efficient way to spend your credits. So I want an easy way without sorting by upgradable and scrolling.
Yeah. That's so miserable.
To find all my cards that are sitting between blue and red.
That's the worst.
Everything there, it's a huge pain. I feel like I am on that screen constantly changing my sort order and my flipping, and there's just so many ways you can do it to make it better.
And like, there's so much you have to learn to even like get the most out of the system as it currently exists. Like, you have to do so much trial and error to figure out like the quickest way to make a thing appear on your screen. It's
100%. I want to add more filters, like if a card is splittable, not just if it's upgradable. Like, technically the splittable cards show up first if you sort by upgradable in a certain order. You know, the ones that are infinity but not split yet. I want to filter for that. And then the last thing I want is a change to the deck builder. The deck building interface. We know that they have some kind of like intelligence that's being, or like, you know, a data-based way to recommend a deck, right? Because we have the auto builder that'll fill in a deck. I want, as I'm building a deck, I want one of the sort options to be like compatibility with the cards I already have in my deck. Cool. And as soon as I add a card to my deck list, I want it to update and refresh. And I know this is doable because Snap.pro, which is like kind of the sister site for Marvel Snap Zone, it already does this in the deck builder. I just think, and I don't want it to like help me invent a deck, although that's cool. I want it to make deck building faster. Like, by the time I've put in 5 cards, you should know some of the other cards I want in my deck. Don't make me manually search for every single one.
Yeah. And it's just helpful to see if it's, even if it's just statistics of what like this card is mostly played with. It's just like, here's what everyone's mostly playing with this card with. And then that lets you see, unlike the deck builder, which is just like, your deck's not going to work because it's missing a key card, you know, and we just didn't account for that. You can see that when it's laid out in compatible cards. It's like, oh, this is meant for like Scream or whatever, but
so for the compatibility thing, that is also something I considered for my secret homework submission for quality of life improvement. Except as I envisioned it, the compatibility thing would be a feature that showed you what cards you've put in decks with this card recently. Because I realized, like, I abandoned this notion because I wanted to give the users less functionality. I specifically wanted to hide from them what everybody else is playing with this card. I wanted to only show them what they have been playing with this card, so that it's like an ease of use for you to like put together your usual suspects or whatever. But like, I wanted it to not make it so that everyone is playing the same stuff all the time, because like I already worry that there's like too much. You know, it's all too homogenous and stuff. And so like, I wanted to make a version of that feature that would incentivize people to just like, you know, perfect their own oeuvre or whatever. I don't know. I realized that like giving someone the stuff, like taking functionality out of the feature is the wrong idea. So I just scrapped the whole concept because I was like morally opposed to it or whatever. But yeah, I also thought about doing the compatibility, like the thing.
Yeah, I can see how that's
good for a casual user to like be able to go in and make a without going to net deck, you know, without having to be part of the community, know all the right people to follow to get what are going to be the best decks, and they can just click in and do it. That is friendly for the game, because there's nothing more frustrating than someone that isn't playing enough to both know the meta and know how to build the best decks than to just be forced to do that and get trashed. If that's not how they want to play. Sorry,
I
go
was
ahead,
thinking
Lauren.
of it instead of generalizing deck building and making it, so that people are playing even more of the same mashup. I was thinking of it actually as being a more creative version of the auto builder, where sometimes I will throw together 3 cards I know, make a certain deck, and then hit auto build just to get the handful of other cards I want, and then I take 2 or 3 of them out and then put in the cards I actually want. It's just manually building a deck in any way is a pain in the ass, and I want it to be better. And if it was in compatibility sort mode, instead of just doing what auto builder tells me, I can be like, oh, I'm skipping the first 3 there, but that card's kind of an interesting idea, and I hit it, and it automatically updates to reflect the direction I'm taking the deck in.
That's
I
really
still
cool.
want to be able to make the decision of which
diagram.
card I'm adding, but I want it to be easier than scrolling through my entire collection and memorizing the stats for every card, which, if you sort by energy, that seems to be the fastest way, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have every card's stats memorized and the alphabet memorized.
But also, here's another thing about changing all the cards all the goddamn time, is that sometimes you forget, oh, Frigga's a 3/4 now. Why am I not seeing her in the 3/3s? It's because she isn't.
Well, and sometimes you can't find them, and sometimes I'm literally just typing in the name of the card to search for it, grab it, type in a new name. It's just a bad experience. I'm sure it's better on PC where typing is easier, but even there, I don't know.
I also mostly play on my phone, so.
Hey, that's fine.
It sounds like you want useful AI instead of,
I don't even think it would require AI.
Okay, so Ben, then, if you didn't go with compatibility, when did you ultimately land on for your quality of life change?
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is deck slots, right? We just I feel like there was a secret requirement to the secret homework, which was don't just say deck slots, because we all know, right?
Oh,
so
I probably picked something we all know.
No, we're not talking about deck slots right now. What I will talk about are deck folders. That's right. We need better ways to organize our decks. We should be able to reorder them in the rotation. I also think that to steal one of the 3 good ideas from Pokemon Pocket Trading Card Game, we should be able to assign featured cards to the deck that make it easier to identify at a glance in your little carousel. Be
instead of using your avatar to be this is my discard deck.
But you could sure, I see that Apocalypse is one of the featured cards, but then you also featured the weird card, so that you can tell which one of your Apocalypse decks it is. Whatever card makes it novel or interesting, or I just think it would be very helpful. So I was also going to talk about my version of the compatibility feature that would only show you the cards that you've been playing with the cards. But that already came up. So
we just talked about it.
Yep. Those were my thoughts.
I love those.
Yeah, no, for real. And honestly, they were much more detailed than mine, because as soon as Lauren said your number 1 quality, I knew immediately what it was. And it's easy and it's obvious, but on my phone, and I do not believe this is just, or even if it is because my phone is slightly older, the lag. Just the lag between menus, between clicking. It's just one of those things where if I accidentally clicked the collection tab instead of conquest, or the wrong thing, it's totally the Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar, this little maneuver is going to cost us 1 million years. I don't know the length of time, but a long time. And it's just it's really annoying to wait those few seconds all the time. For navigating around, it's fix it. This is the tech debt. Can't speak that we were talking about. Where it's just you need to fix it so your game doesn't lag, because that makes it feel that cheapens it when it's it's not even running well. So I don't feel like there's a lot of excuses for it. So that was it. Fix it. Do you guys
be kinder to the devs? Don't you know they're doing their best?
I usually am. I don't know. This is the reverse today.
No, I know. I was joshing.
Bizarre.
I was.
Okay.
Your proposal is spending more patches not just on adding new features, which I don't know how many of those we get anyway. Maybe some new economy features happen. But like to have a few patches that are like really dedicated to like make the game run better.
Cleaning it up.
That would be great.
Yeah. I think that's great. And it would benefit everybody. Like the way that would add up over the course of a year.
I'm seeing someone who is like, that was something I've done for years. Just go clean up bad, terrible, make it run clean. It's always worth it. Okay.
How I got started in my analytics career. I was just optimizing code that other people already wrote.
Yeah, some people are really bad at writing code and shouldn't be in the industry, to be honest with you. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Complaints. Okay. All right. So that was this week. Next week's secret homework also going to be a bit on the lighter side, or I don't know, get real detailed with it if you want. I went with all the hype people get for character mastery and the concern about whether it's going to end up being delayed or anything. What is a reward you would personally love to get from character mastery? New reward, existing reward. You can be heartless and just say tokens if you want, Ben, because I know you're not a cosmetics.
Be a robot.
But like
cold and heartless.
But be sincere about what you would actually genuinely want as a reward from the character mastery track. All right, for your beloved card. Probably your stupid, awful pixel absorbing man, Ben. I've seen it. Okay. All right. If you liked what you heard, I know the Lauren things. We've podcasted enough. I can pretend to be Lauren. Okay. If you like what you heard, you can follow us in all the places where some of us are more or less active, to be honest. But Blue Sky mainly now. We each have our own accounts, and also SnapOnThisPod as our general handle.
All the engagement and the likes and the comments, we find them nourishing, like the Candrona rays that sustain the Yeerks when once every 3 days they must return to the Yeerk pool. Their sustenance.
Good one.
Or perhaps
well done.
The bark shaved from the trunks of trees by the Hork Bajir with their razor sharp elbow blades.
We're just saying
these are just forms of sustenance. But we live on the likes and the subscribes and the comments.
That comments a thing like liking an Animorph reference, we will do it for you week after week. Because that's how much we love.
Because we know that you are insatiable, like the hungry taxon.
And I'm Ree, so if you want to say nice things about me particularly, feel free. Okay. And you can find us on YouTube, all of the podcast places. We also have an email at SnapOnThisPod@gmail.com. I don't believe we have ever received non-Zencaster support emails.
Yeah, but we would love to hear some theories about why the Daken illustration makes sense, or maybe some justification for Doctor Strange's very strange fingers. Take a look at that variant, I'm telling you, or the Sentry one that will give you nightmares. So yeah.
We're such millennials. Email. Yeah. Go for that. Also, we are in the Snap Judgment League's Discord, of which in our show notes there are instructions about how to join. Where we hang out, because we are part of the Snap Judgments Network. So we are cross-linked with shows such as Snap Decisions. Our good friend Joe runs this podcast, and we have all guested on it previously, once all together at the same time.
Oh my gosh, it was one of our best episodes, if you ask me. And it wasn't even on our feed.
I won't lie, it was hilarious because there was 4 of us, and Joe
gave us this really long list. I'm like, we will not get through. You do not know how much we didn't. It was a long pod, and we didn't get through everything. Yeah. But yeah, catch Joe there. We all cover different kind of talk about it different ways, and Joe does very frequent things and gives updates for things more quickly after they happen. So if you want news kind of fast oriented, he's a good one to follow. Okay. He also does a lot of guests and interesting conversations there.
Okay. Okay. So we do an outro is like, so I guess, how does it go? You can catch us next week on that same Snap channel and Snap time. I don't remember say the outro right.
Good effort.
The other way.
Dan, give us a better outro quick. You can do it. I believe in you.
You returned for another ep, and we hope you still draw breath next week for... See, ep and breath don't really rhyme, do they? I wanted a rhyming one. Okay. You listened to the Snap podcast and it wasn't fast, it was slow. But if you return next week, we'll treat you to another blow by blow.
Ta-da! Okay, there we go. Thanks, I put you on the spot.
Same Snap channel! My poor voice can't do it.
Lauren got it right. You did it. No. Okay.
Okay, Ben, you blew so many Animorphs references in one. Are you gonna run out?
Maybe. It's possible.
Okay,
I might have to do some rereading, get some fresh ones.
Yeah, I've got to know. Real talk,
I did
behind
blow
the
through
scenes.
like 3 of them.
Yeah.
How many of these are like, these?
Oh,
these references. Yeah.
Oh, for me, I read a couple books when I was young, and I don't remember any of them.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't look anything up for these. Those are all just things off the... Well, the thing is, like, all these books,
well done.
They just give you the same information over and over, and like, I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that like a lot of them were ghost written and stuff. So like, you just have these points that you hit again and again, like, oh, those Hork-Bajir, they got real sharp elbow blades. They scrape bark off of trees. You learn this like 70 fucking times. And like, oh, these taxons, these centipede aliens, they have like, they have to eat. It's like, it's their whole thing. And like, oh, you better not morph into one, because like the taxon's natural disposition is just fucking senseless, like ravenous hunger. So like, it'll probably be hard to remember why you morphed into a taxon. You're going to lose track of the mission. You're just going to want to eat whatever fucking corpses in front of you. You know, it's a whole thing. And like, they're always talking about these yerks, and they got that 3-day limit. They got to get back to the yerk pool, recharge on their tanning bed magics, and right.
3 days is a very dramatic option.
Also, I know more details about the yerk pool.
You got to save them. You got to save them.
Okay.
I mean, I have no idea how deep your well goes, but
it goes pretty deep. Oh, also, while I've got you on the call, take a look at what I'm talking about with this Doctor Strange.
I did pull up Doctor Strange. It is a little cursed. This finger is...
I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I upgraded to 3D because I was like, maybe it's like the Sentry and that little nugget of hair. I think that maybe like the people who make the 3D stuff like did the Pandart folks solid there by making it look like Sentry's hair chunk was connected to the rest of his hair once you upgraded it to 3D. But yeah, look at Doctor Strange's hand there, and like if you haven't looked at the Sentry hand, the Sentry hand is also like, and this is not a mistake that a human would make. A human would not draw it like that. Like,
hands are hard to draw. Like,
no, but I've seen a million humans fuck up a million hands. Like,
yeah, if you just traced your own hand, you would not draw it like that.
Like, you would see that like there is not a weird cleft between the fingers. That is.
All my characters in high school just had their arms behind their backs so I could avoid it.
Or like,
all were standing like this. All my anime, all my Gundam Wing pictures with Hiro Yui.